Hey guys, welcome back to the post show, episode 10. Kind of a big week for us. Dave and I both kind of wrapped up a few things, specifically Jujutsu Kaisen and the Burnham special for Dave and Vinland Saga for myself. We go over some E3 highlights and some assorted anime news. Dave finally, through my infinite wisdom and recommendations, watched the first season of Line of Duty. And thankfully, through the power of editing, my excitement has not or will not blow out your eardrums, thank God. And we also get into the Loki premiere and where I'm at with Bad Batch this season. So enjoy, guys. Thanks again for listening. Have a good week. Bye.
Oh, hey, Grant.
Hey, Dave.
How's it going, sir?
Oh, not too bad. It's a good day.
It is a good day.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with some quick housekeeping.
Oh.
Just because last week we talked about a couple things that you were just sort of ahead of me on.
Sure.
And I've since caught up. So I'm not going to take a ton of time on this because I largely feel the same that you do. But I did wrap up Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1.
Okay.
Finished those last 2 episodes. Really, really good. Really strong way to end
You know what I was getting at?
What?
Just like the fight, like the Itadori and Nobara fight.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I gotta say I didn't see it coming because I didn't see it going that way. Obviously spoilers for anyone listening for Jujutsu Kaisen, but I just thought that maybe we would have a confrontation with the main these main what do you call them, curses that we've been seeing, the patchwork face guy. I thought maybe we would get something with the jujutsu, the actual human that they're working with. So they sort of furthered that plot in a way, but not really. But I'm kind of happy that it didn't go the exact way I expected, and instead we got this really interesting twist.
Yeah.
Of the other curses that they had kind of unleashed, and that weirdly dark origin story of where the 3 of those brother curses came from.
Yeah.
Jesus, that was fucking intense. This show hasn't done anything like that so far, so that was fun.
Well, they kind of touched it with what was this? I'm blanking on his name. The sad boy there.
Oh God. The one that dies.
Yeah, the one Patchwork kind of fucks with his head and all that. They kind of they kind of hit
true.
it. They hit it there a little bit, and they kind of hit just the existential crisis isn't maybe not the right word for it, but just Itadori's him dealing with the fact that he's technically killed a person. They went back to that a couple times, and they did that very very gracefully.
They definitely did,
and potently.
Those last 2 episodes, everybody got a moment. Megami got a moment, Nobara got a moment, Itadori got a moment. I love the ending. I love that Toto and the other girl are recommending them all to be promoted to first grade.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the actual fights, the animations, the sequences. Obviously, Megami's fight was killer.
Yeah, the
chemistry that they are able to write and the voice actors are able to achieve between Itadori and is it Nobara?
What a fucking, and now she's got a black flash in the bank. The bank.
Yeah. That was really great. Really, really strong ending to a season. I had high expectations, and it delivered. Yeah. I'm very, very excited to see what they do next.
I think we can officially pencil in a full season talk about. I think we should. I'm not done.
I almost want to watch it again.
Yeah, I do. It's like I said last week. It's just there's so much there.
Yeah.
To really dissect and just
just good shonen, man.
Yeah.
Good shit. It was really nice to have something live up to the hype. I think that's what you said last week, and I completely agree. So really big fan. Obviously, if you guys haven't seen, if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry for all the spoilers, but we recommend it. It's a really, really good one from this year. One of the highlights. There was also some Jujutsu Kaisen news that came out this week. 2 things. The bad news first is that the manga author is going on an indefinite hiatus due to some health issues. I don't know how long the manga has been out. I don't know how far ahead it is. Either way, that sucks. and that's
I
shitty
did
to hear.
I did read that the indefinite hiatus is, at the very least, it's a month, and they're
Okay.
going to see where he's at after that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Potentially more, but yeah.
What kind of health issues he's got, or how serious it is, or what the deal is, but that sucks, and we wish him a speedy recovery, just because we're such big fans. So
Yeah.
And on positive news for Jujutsu Kaisen, I saw the movie poster that we talked about. I think last week. I think they're doing a prequel to the first season, and also a release date, December 24th, 2021.
Yep.
So I think did season 1 start in 2021?
Yeah.
So they in a calendar year they'll have done a hit season, and they'll close out that same calendar year with a prequel to that season, which I'm sure will do really well. So super stoked. Maybe we could even see that one in theaters. Who knows?
It's like you said last week too. There's a lot of, I'm seeing a lot of parallels between Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking some similar routes.
Yeah.
And I think it's only really good. Like it's like you said, we need more canon movies as sequel components, or even like to set up future stuff.
Yeah.
I almost wonder what a prequel would be. Or is this like more of the clan stuff?
I mean, I know what I would take. Yeah, I would take clan history. I would gobble up anything that has Gojo in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that we've talked about this in the past about how important world building is, and how important it is that when you start telling a new story in this new world with all these fantastical elements, there has to be history, right? You can't just plop these characters out of thin air and be like, this is how it works.
Yeah.
You have to hint that things have happened before the audience arrives. I think Jujutsu Kaisen has always done a good job with that. So there's tons of shit for them to talk about and explore. So I'm sure that they'll do that well. I don't want to do all the talking, but there's one more thing.
Yeah.
I also wrapped up Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham's most recent special called Inside. Yeah, I won't go on too long because I think I mostly just agree with what you said last week. So the TLDR version is that I'm I think a bigger, more fanatical stand-up fan than Grant, but I think that we probably pulled the same things out of this one, in that it's like almost it's incredibly artistic. It's like a really cool, fun exploration into the Bo Burnham stuff you've probably seen and liked. Satirical takes, satirical songs that generally speaking usually have like something deeper to them. You don't have to look very far, that are really, really well written, really great composition in all of them, stupidly well shot. That whole fucking thing. It is shocking that one man was able to do all of that. I cannot.
It's a technical, like the word masterpiece has been thrown around a lot, and I'm not trying to. I don't want to undermine his lyrical content, and again, I would say the musical composition is very high up there. It's very very well written.
Yes.
But the word masterpiece is thrown around.
Yep.
The making of this, the actual the technical components to what he has done, that is what I believe to be the message is very important.
Yep.
I genuinely believe that, and I wouldn't say that's not considered a masterpiece too, but that's more in the ether. That's for people's interpretations and all that. But the thing that blows me, I've watched it in another time, and I've listened to it 3 times additionally total, just streaming it at work and all that. It's catchy, it's great. But anyway, it's what he was able to produce, like you said, by himself with the equipment that he had is the masterpiece in my opinion. He's a tremendous filmmaker.
I agree. It's when you throw a studio and a crew behind it, it's almost like people, or just as an audience member who's used to seeing high quality shit, you forget how hard it is to achieve these things. And especially if you throw budget and cast and crew at a project, it's I buy that you were able to produce this, but it's really hard to wrap your head around one guy doing everything start to finish. And you could tell that I think it made the special significantly longer because he really did highlight how homemade it was and how much he struggled with the project. that's why I almost hesitate to call it stand-up comedy, because but not in a bad way. Like it's just so different than any other special I've ever seen. But I say that as a
It's more
positive.
of a one-man show than a stand-up.
Yeah, like, but I really mean that as a positive thing. Like, this is just much more, or not to say it's better or worse. It's just so different than sitting in front of a crowd telling stories and one-liners. Like you said, like, it's more of a one-man show. There's a crazy amount of variety and range in this. Yeah. It's 90 minutes, and it's crazy to see all of the things he's able to hit in 90 minutes, and what you walk out of it with. You know what I mean? Like, you walk out with some super good jokes, really great zingers, some beautiful songs, but also like a pretty good, look into what this guy is going through, or what he wants you to think he's going through. Like, he crafted a message, and he crafted a really good piece. And yeah, I'm a big fan. I think, like...
Do you know what I appreciated as well?
Go ahead.
Not once did he say COVID.
Yeah, man. He did
he made it not time... You know what I mean? Like, it could be...
It's like, he did a good job of just being like, you know what I'm doing. Like, I am here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so many comedians are talking about that. Like, their friends are like, hey, you should do a COVID joke, It's like, really? Yeah. Should I? Like, every fucking comic on every stage is joking about COVID right now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, but...
No, that was it. It was just nice. Like, it was...
Yeah.
It's like you said, we all know that's what he's talking about. We've all been in it. He didn't need to remind us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, it showed, like, it was respect for the viewer. It shows that we were on the same page as him. If you understand what he's saying, he understands what you're feeling. It's I don't know. Great.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it to anyone. Like I said, it might be some intense for some people maybe, but I think it's worth watching at least once.
I think the pacing is good in that, he gives you enough satirical fun stuff littered throughout, that it does a good job of kind of breaking up some of the heavy stuff that he touches on. Because I think at the end of the day, I still had a good time with this. You know what I mean? Like, like you said, like, yes, it is deep, and he touches on some struggles that he's having, but like, it's, it is a special / one-man show, whatever you want to call it. And I think that, I don't think anybody watches this, or I would be surprised, I should say, if anybody watches this and goes, oh, that was too heavy for me. You know what I mean? I feel like it's still a really, really great comedic sort of one-man show, and there are like some heavy pieces in it, if that makes sense. Yeah. But like, they balance very, very well.
Yeah.
Big fan. Okay, that was my housekeeping. I will hand it over to you.
Well, I guess
watch it.
Well, it would be a good wrap up while we're in the realm of housekeeping. We finished Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga. How do you feel?
All I can say is Lucius Artorius. Is it Cassius?
I don't remember. So you tell me.
Askeladd going down like a fucking G. Like, wow. Spoilers to anyone listening, obviously.
Spoiler alert, Vinland Saga. But what a great way to go out, huh?
Tremendous. Like, just the so because we did like a 3-episode run. That's how we closed it out. Like, we had the 3 episodes left, and so when we sat down for the night, curtains are drawn or curtains are closed. We each had a cup of coffee, and we were just getting ready to, like, we're going to see how it ended. Get down to business and just see, how's this going to go? How are they going to wrap this up? Because we had some questions of, like, we knew that was like the big spoiler that I knew, and we kind of knew going in, was this was a prologue to what's to come. Mm-hmm. So we knew what happened here. Like, it's not like we get like an immediate follow-up after kind of things. So I kind of had the feeling that something big was going to happen that would set up what is to come.
Yeah.
So again, that's just, having like the gifted foresight of like seeing a spoilerish kind of thing, but like no details. So seeing, because that's the thing too, going in, there's all this stuff with the king, and I was like, where is this going? Because they're setting up the politics of
the Canute, the Canute stuff,
and the king thing
at the end.
Yeah, and they can't just, like, they set up the whole thing. The king can't just ice off Canute. like there is some, like he now has like a power standing, and so anyway, so I'm totally sidetracking here, but anyway, so we sit down, and the episode we start to is I guess the last what we had just seen was him throwing down with Bjorn. Bjorn shows up and he's like, okay, you're ready, and like they have their like emotional moment together, and you get the whole like, all I wanted to be a friend, and then Askeladd, who it's hard to say, he's such an interesting character, because at the end of the day did he just say that to make Bjorn feel better in his dying moment, or did he actually believe that was his only friend? I'm on the side of yes, like he did like consider Bjorn like a true friend, even though he hates all the Danes. And then he gives that big long speech to Canute and Thorfinn, and just kind of like him throwing it out of like basically telling Thorfinn like, you're fucked, man, like you are not listening to anything I've been saying, like in a weird way he's been his father for like 10 years.
Yep.
And obviously like Thorfinn is blinded by rage, and it's understandable to a certain extent and all that, but like Askeladd was really at the very end was like really really trying to get through to him, because like I think he knew what was coming down the pipe for him to a certain, he was pretty confident. And then just the reveal, like the Welsh reveal in the courtroom, it was so fucking like Leanne and I were just like fucking blown away.
Yeah, and it's like you could tell when he decided what he wanted to do, and he chose his course of action and following Canute, it's almost like you could just tell that the man had found kind of purpose. And it feels as though sometimes when you have that, or when you find that, when characters do, it also feels like you're kind of ready for the end. You know what I mean? It felt like he was ready.
I agree, but I think I consider it more to he had this goal, but he's never had the wheels on the road. He's never had traction. And he finally had like this lifelong goal that he was passionate about and he wanted to make happen, and it was bestowed upon him, and he, it's like you did say, like he had purpose, and he was thinking more,
a little bit wider,
a bit wider, and he wasn't just aimlessly trying to do whatever and like see whatever sticks. He has the goal and he's trying to make it happen, and that's when he's most potent. Yeah, when he has a plan, and he can be conniving, and just and the dynamic with Thorkel, and like, but honestly, like the most powerful scene is when Askeladd like goes for, like, because they call out the whole like, we're gonna invade Wales, and they see it on his face, and it's like fuck, like as if they're not gonna notice that. And I'm glad. I was like I was hoping it wasn't gonna be one of those anime things where like a face is made and then like the face changes and like no one notices. Like everyone in the room noticed, and they call Askeladd up, and Askeladd, he goes like, he tries to talk them out of it, and the king fucks with them. He's like, hey, it's Wales or Canute, you gotta pick one. And it was like, yes, I choose both. Like, and then like he ices them, and he has that throwdown, and just Thorkel rising to the occasion. Like you can tell he's a wild card, but I think
it was a good moment.
It was a good moment, but he has a lot of great moments from that scene forward, through the whole season. But like again, he's a wild card, but like in my heart of hearts, I think Thorkel is siding with Canute, maybe. Because like I feel like if he didn't truly believe in that cause or go in that direction, he would have jumped in potentially.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and just guiding him, and Thorkel's like, like he's a mad dog, and then Canute having like the know-how, or like having the wisdom to know that he's doing this for me, and then Thorkel's like, yeah, I guess, well, it's got to be you that ends him, right? Like you gotta make his sacrifice last, and then Thorfinn's fucking going crazy, and and then Canute makes the kill, and and then just like how Thorkel is there for him, holding him up, and he's like, you need to stand strong, like you need to make every moment of this matter.
Yeah,
and
it was your coming out party. You need to show him you're a fucking king. And the way he like swoops up, puts on the crown, and he starts like going toe to toe with Floki there, because Floki's trying to like swoop in and take control a little bit. Honestly, Dave, thank you so much for the recommendation. Leanne and I just absolutely, yeah, you did, seriously, you knocked it out of the park. We absolutely love this show. We're also too, I believe next week Studio Wit is doing a 10-year anniversary event.
And the rumor on the street is they're officially announcing Vinland Saga 2 or season 2.
Nice. That would be nice.
So that'll be, stay tuned next week, guys, for that. Believe me, I will be following the show closely. And like Leanna too, she wanted to look online and like she kind of just wanted like a season 1 summary, because we're late to the show by a couple years. And she was like, I really don't want to like get spoiled by like manga or anything like that.
Yeah.
She's like, I think she had seen one little thing. She's like, no, I'm out. Like, I'll wait. I'll wait till. Yeah. But yeah, no, we really loved it.
Good, man. I'm glad. It's good when shit like that works out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of like the off. I mean, you know, now it seems so obvious, right? But I remember like an offhanded recommendation somebody threw at me right as I was like getting into anime. It's like, oh, you should try that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood one. You know what I mean? I was like, which ended up like completely changing my relationship with TV. You know what I mean? Like I had never really seen anything like that, and which is pretty funny. But it's good when a recommendation lands. So I'm glad you liked it. I agree. By the way, you know, the ending of that that last scene, you know, because so much of it, like, you know, is about politics and different types of character development and things like that. But obviously, you know, it comes down to Thorfinn for me and his relationship with Askeladd is kind of the heart of the show. And that death scene and that conversation they have.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is what I was waiting for. I wanted to see something happen. I just didn't know what, because what I wanted kept changing, you know? But it really paid off. I'm really happy the way that ended.
And it was cool too. Like there's like I felt like for 10 episodes, Thorfinn was just a background character. Like I like when a show is comfortable with its own, like it's confident where it can take the main character and can just fucking ditch them. Yeah. For a little bit, let them do their thing. Like they're around, but you know what I mean. Like, and
a lot of great anime do that when you think about it.
And it lets the rest of the cast do that, and like, yeah, just really good shit.
I was away out of town for the weekend in cottage country, and had to like load up the laptop with like a couple random things to watch just in case, you know, the mood struck, like especially you know, you can only lay out in the sun for so long, and really saps the energy, right?
Yeah.
First world problems. But I ended up loading up the laptop with a couple recommendations, and I'm hoping you get this reference, Grant. Don't let me down. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Me and the lady ended up binging the whole first season and watched the adventures of DCI Gates over the weekend.
You did not. now we're sucking diesel.
Don't yell. Sorry, listeners.
Oh my God, Dave. The energy flowing through me now is I could blast through the fucking ceiling.
Gates.
How fucking rock hard were you guys during that? Like,
it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was there's one guy, DS Arnott's boss. I forget his name. He's Irish.
He's in that Game of Thrones.
Who is he in Game of Thrones?
He is not Mormont. The guy under Mormont at the wall. He's the dude that like when he's the one who fucking hates Jon Snow.
Oh no, not him. That's like his first boss. I mean, his the second boss that he gets at AC-12.
Oh, fucking Hastings.
Yeah. And you know, he's Irish and he's got a great accent, and like he interviews Gates a few times, and I was doing a bit for like 3 straight days of just his accent, because like a lot of these shows, like these cop shows, and this one is no exception, is they always address you by your rank and last name.
Yeah.
And so like they had all these interviews with Gates, who's like the main sort of protag, sort of villain throughout the show, and they're always referring to him as his rank and then his name, right? But he's got this thick ass accent. So where were you that night, DCI Gates?
DCI Gates.
All right, now DCI Gates. With all due respect, DCI Gates. Like I did not let that go all weekend.
Oh my God. Leanna and I, to this day, will just walk around the house and we're like, Like we'll all just like try and talk like Steve, or like Detective Sergeant Arnott, like,
Detective Sergeant Arnott.
oh yeah, it's
It was good, man. Yeah, I watched the first season, enjoyed it. Probably got through it in like 2 or 3 days. I think we watched the pilot right before we left. I was like, is this worth? Does it hit for us both? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it did. So I grabbed the first season, or I downloaded it, and then
It's our fucking favorite, man. We
Yeah.
fucking love Line of Duty. Like,
Does it maintain that level of quality?
if not better,
Really?
it continues to get better and better and better. In my opinion, yeah, they do a really good, because that's the nice thing. The nice thing is there's only 6 episodes per season. I believe the first season's only 5. But after that, it's 6 episodes a season, and it's just really concrete storytelling. They're able to fit in all these, like it's a conspiracy and it's a thriller and a cop drama, and it's. You wonder like how many times can they tell a story about a bent copper, and like is it just going to be the same thing over and over? But each season they find a way to like uniquely isolate what the problem is and what they're trying to get to, and it's kind of cool. Like there's, without even realizing it, there is kind of like an overarching narrative, and they play around with that in kind of some interesting ways, which you wouldn't have expected, or we didn't expect at the time, but
Yeah. What I think I realized watching it is like cop shows are just so fucking hard, like hard to do well, because like there are so many of them out there, and like they're good, but like very few like cop shows are great. You know what I mean? Like it's just like half the time you just end up with fucking CSI, name a city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just hard to do well. And you could tell that like it felt like they were aware of a lot of the traps and like pitfalls that can kind of sneak up on a show like that. It can become very formulaic. Finite storytelling, big focus on character, some good misdirects. Yeah, really liked it. Solid recommendation.
Unreal performances too, like
Very good. Yeah. Good score
like
throughout, direction, editing, performances.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows that it fires quite well on all cylinders. So yeah.
It's it's just so funny. Like we got so, like us personally, we got so attached to the characters. Like we'll see something that Kate or Steve does, and you're just like, come on, Kate, what are you doing? You're like, I just want to sit them down and be like, come on, what are you doing there? It's yeah. And
I also really like DCI Gates.
Yeah.
The guy that played DCI Gates.
Brutal.
Yeah, great character arc.
He's one of the only villains, like season foil, I guess, where I genuinely felt bad.
Oh yeah.
For like the hand he was dealt, like obviously like he wasn't perfect,
That's the thing, man. Like they towed the line very well. Like because you say villain, but it's like barely.
That's why I tried to correct a foil, like an antagonist.
Yeah,
if you would. He's not a villain.
But that's a complex character, right? Like he drove so much of the plot by doing things wrong. But like I don't think you finish. I don't think you look at that guy at the end of that show and go, he was a bad guy. You know what I mean? And like so many shows just boil down to like, oh, he was a bad guy and he was doing bad guy things. You know what I mean? So yeah, really, really strong. That was good. Line of Duty, check it out.
Makes me so fucking happy. The second we're done, I'm going downstairs to tell Leanna. I'm sure you're getting a text. Like
she probably
Line of Duty. Oh, I'm sure she did. I'll edit that down for everyone's ears. Yeah, no, that warms my heart that you watched that. We fucking love that show.
Yeah, man. Did you watch Loki?
Yeah.
Dude.
You? Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? I am. I wonder if you are, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect. You go.
So I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised, because I going in, I felt way more confident than what had come before.
Ugh, man.
If you know what I mean, because like I
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That was just up and down, like in so many weird ways.
It's looking less good as you go when you think about the totality of WandaVision.
Yeah, and that's the thing. WandaVision had its stuff. It was good up until the
The
mystery
end.
was gone, and you and I have discussed that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not ad nauseum, but we've discussed that at length.
Yeah.
We don't need to really touch that too much more. And you know, at least the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff, that's a little more in recent memory. But you know, they nailed the tone, 100%. They avoided a lot of the Marvel like villain trappings. You know, like they're very heavy on the humor with this. I found, you know, like they got Owen Wilson. You know, like he's the king of like character
Dude,
actor.
I can't
comedy.
believe that Owen Wilson's Owen Wilsonness was able to shine through in such a brief pilot.
He's tremendous.
Like, I. Like some of the lines and the way he was delivering them, I was like, oh, it's Owen Wilson from Wedding Crashers. Like he has that. It's in the trailer. He has this moment like in the elevator with Loki where it's like, you love to talk, and then he goes, talkie. Like he does his weird whisper talking shit that he does.
So yeah, but so the thing. So right up front, like again, you watched the first season, so you'll be able to compare a little bit. It reminds me of Mandalorian, where there's clearly a line of, you know, a problem for Star Wars for a long time was just the lack of practical effects.
Yeah.
You know, and the tangibility wasn't there in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And Mandalorian brought that back to an extent. Like, you know, Rogue One before it was a little more.
Yep.
I think, you know, even Solo 2, again, I'll defend that movie to the day I die. I think it's a great movie.
Sure.
You know, but anyway, but there was not so much set pieces in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but there was like rooms. It was like, I feel like it was the characters and rooms. Like there was nothing felt real. You know, it's like, yeah, I get it. They're running through Europe, but everything, watching Loki, it all felt real. You know, it believable. And like, again, I know there's clearly a lot of it CGI, but it was tangible, you know, like I felt like I could reach out and grab it.
Yeah. Like, it was very well done, man. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, you hear about all the money they spend on these shows, and then you look at Loki and you're like, yeah, I see it. Like this is, I looked at that and I was like, holy shit. Like they put money into this, you know what I mean? I could just tell. And then sometimes in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there are moments where like, oh yeah, that was like primo. That may as well have been a movie. And then there are other moments, it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, inconsistent, like you said, up and down. We've only got one episode of Loki, but I definitely felt the production value, and I definitely felt that they were going for it.
Yes. And I like that they're...
Fucking Hiddleston, too, right? Is it Hiddleston?
Well, yeah, Hiddleston. So that's what I was just about to say. Like, you know, the Loki character, the one thing I was worried about is there might be too much of him.
Right.
You know, because we've got him in little pockets here and there. It hasn't been, you know, he's been used a lot, but he's been used well. But I was worried that there'd be too much of him and the character. Like, he's tremendous. You know, like in this episode, they really set up, it's the Loki show, you know, quite literally and figuratively, like in the grand scope of the character and all that. It's really well. I'm gonna say though, I don't love the villain setup.
Yeah.
I'm a little fucking cheesed with that.
Really?
Just because it just seems lazy.
Yeah,
they're gonna, because, you know, again, spoilers to anyone listening, they more or less set out, and it could be a fake out, but they're setting out that Loki is the villain.
Yeah.
Another version of Loki or whomever.
Yeah. You know, it seems like, you know, like they're also going into a completely new realm of like the TVA and like how time is governed, and that opens up this huge can of worms, and we've sort of talked about that before, right? Like the moment you open the time machine box, it's kind of hard to seal it. So now like they're really leaning into it, and that, you know, is both exciting and like potentially lazy depending on your outlook. But yeah, like I don't know what to expect. I want to touch on something really quickly that you mentioned, which is like it's the Loki show, and that's a good thing, but it's like sometimes the best things about these characters are how they're used in these brief, like nuanced microdose, kind of piecemeal type ways. Like Loki is often so great because you get a chance to miss him, and then he comes back and he does Loki things, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we saw like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, you take these supporting characters and you have the opportunity to really flesh them out. But, like, sometimes, like, what happens when it doesn't hit? You know what I mean? What happens when, like, there isn't a lot to flesh out there, and now you're reaching, and you have to humanize a character that you never designed to be human. And, like, I feel like that's a bit of a trap, right? Like, when you take, like, a one-note villain, now, that's not Loki, obviously, but, and now you're like, okay, now I need to design a show or a movie around that person. I just think that it's harder, easier said than done, right? Like, you could even see in this episode, the pilot, like, you already got more Loki and character development on Loki in the 20-minute sequence than you had in all 5 of the films that he's been in or whatever it is. But it kind of worked. You know, to be fair, I think that they pulled that off. You know, it's just, I just hope that it works out well. I don't disagree. I wasn't cheesed, though. I think that,
well, not cheesed, but it is just like, oh, come on. Like, they're really... Like, I understand he's a great villain, and he has played the villain very well. So they're going to dial it up to, like, dark Loki. Like, I just don't want it to be dark Loki. You know what I mean? Like a shadow version of him where he's just like...
It's like a past version.
Puppies, you know? Like
you know a past version of himself that, like, doesn't have all this enlightenment, and it's like Loki from, like, I don't know, Avengers 1 or some bullshit, or like Loki from
well, technically this Loki,
I was about to say, wait a minute, technically. Or, like, you know, just like a darker version of a past self. Like, I don't know if I really want to see that, but, you know, I think that he benefits a lot, really heavily, from being in a completely new universe where they throw out all the rules. You know, like, the Infinity Stones don't work. He's not as powerful. That was a great gag. Owen Wilson is there to cut the tension. Hiddleston himself is quite funny. You know, so much world building. So I don't know. I think, you know, I'm excited to see where they go next.
It reminded me. You didn't get a chance to watch The Good Place, eh?
The what?
The Good Place.
No. I've seen the pilot.
Yeah, so if the whole, like, the office dynamic reminded me of a certain venue in, like, or kind of like a story beat, like a repeated story beat from The Good Place, and kind of similar dynamic of just, like, all-encompassing beings and all that. It's really it's
a very
great
good
intro,
gag.
Awesome intro, like,
Very
just like
good.
introducing the offices and kind of like the quirky characters, like, you know, it was silly, but like the whole, like, you know, please sign off, this is everything that you've said, and then he says something and then another was printed out. Like, it's good little gags and it was fun.
That's good. Like you know, please take a ticket, take a number, or the what do you go? You know, the realization that none of the Infinity Stones work. He finds a desk full of them, and, like, when he says, "I'll gut you like a fish," and the guy's like, "What's a fish?" That actor is so good.
Yeah.
I hope they, like, abduct him and, like, bring him along for some of it, because that was really, really good.
Have you watched Better Call Saul?
I don't know how far they are now, but I want to say 2 or 3 seasons. Interesting show.
I love it. Yeah, I genuinely like it more than Breaking Bad.
I've heard that from a couple people now.
It's but it's Bob Odenkirk. Like, you know, you put him in anything, like, he makes everything he's in 10 times better. But so the guy who didn't take the ticket, do you remember him? He's like the head of the camera crew, like the college students he hires in the first season.
No, I mean,
I
remember that
like
plot.
A shitty ad, but
I remember
anyway,
that plot. Yeah,
it's just one of those, like, I don't know. I saw him, I was like, oh shit, that guy.
That's funny.
But, yeah, they vaporized him.
Yeah. So anyway, I think a couple nitpicks here and there, but all in all, very good pilot.
But that's the thing. I would not. And the whole the DB Cooper thing, that was funny. It was just like they had teased that, like, that was going to be some big mission from the trailers, the first trailer, and it was like a throwaway gag between, like, it was a joke between Heimdall and Thor and him, which I thought that was funny. But
they
I don't,
got him
like
looking exactly like it too, and it was good.
Yeah, I genuinely don't have nitpicks. It's just, I know the ending. It was just like, ugh, come on, but it's like, we'll see, you know, like, prove me wrong kind of thing. But I genuinely think this was a 10 out of 10.
I would say, yeah. I mean, 10 is generous as fuck, but I would say that it was,
like,
probably,
as a pilot,
probably the best pilot that Disney Plus has done.
For sure.
Better than the pilot of WandaVision and Falcon, like, significantly.
Definitely better than Falcon.
And it's just, like, you know, if you have to think about what they accomplished in less than an hour, like, they did a lot in one episode. Do you know how many this is supposed to be?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm guessing between 6, 8, 10 max.
That's their formula.
I think 6. Yeah, okay, that was Loki. What you got?
Not much. So like pretty much I haven't even had a chance to get around to Neon Genesis. That's the plan for this week. But I kind of just want to touch back in with the Bad Batch. We've been chugging away on that. The new Star Wars show. And I want to. I think Star Wars has a season 1 problem when it comes to their animated shows.
Interesting.
So it's not such a problem, I've noticed. Like it's been great so far. It's good to see this world. The characters are great,
but
it's like it feels, because this was the problem with Rebels, and I also noticed it was not so much the Clone Wars, but it was definitely a problem with Rebels, and it was run by the same guy, the Dave Filoni. He was in charge. Like Rebels was his story, and then this is his story as well. They're so focused on setting up all the characters, and it's not that it's bad. It's like, where the fuck is the story going?
Right.
You know, like there's clearly like there's, you know, so there's this new clone. There's this little girl. She's like she's the only female clone. They kind of take her with when they escape from Camino in the beginning of the season. You know, she tags along, and she's clearly important somehow. It's kind of hinted she might be force sensitive. Or at least she's like she's like an empath, because like she tends to take on traits of like the crew, like you know she you know she can kind of pick up tracking like the one guy, and she's kind of smart and intuitive like the other, and you know she kind of she can kind of think like everyone else. You know, again, she's a clone. She's kind of like, you know, they're made to be like hyper powerful like that. But it's like where's this really going? And that was the problem with Rebels. Like they introduced all these characters, they kind of teased some things, but it was just like the train was just going and going and going. And then by the time the first season ended, you're like, okay, well they kind of wrapped that up, but it's like, you know, where's this like big picture wise, you know? And I think that's kind of where the Bad Batch is going. Like I need to know what the next step is, and it just kind of it feels like all they're doing each week is like, you know, here's a guest character here's, you know, Rex from Rebels and Clone Wars, and here's like this character and that character. Like it doesn't seem they're super focused on like where they're going. It's just they're focused on the journey to get to it. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. That's interesting.
So it's I don't know, like we're loving it. It's beautiful. We love the characters. Like we've been talking, you know, like with Kiwi accents, like, you know, 2 days after we watch it on a Friday, it's like Omega, Rika, you know, like we've been talking, you know, it's good, and I think people should watch it, but it's like I'm getting insane Rebels season 1 vibes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll get around to those eventually.
I think you should. Like I
think Mandalorian's ahead though.
Big time. That
in terms of my priority list for Star Wars.
I would
content.
say that would be the one to watch, because
it is so beloved.
Oh,
people fucking love that show. Are they doing season 3?
Good. Yeah, actually, news this week was that the one-off Boba Fett season just finished filming, and
didn't even know they were doing that. God,
shit.
I'm gonna have so much.
Wow, how did you? Okay, that was a bit of a spoiler. I think you knew.
No,
did you know about Boba Fett?
No, my bad. I did know that. I just completely forgot.
Okay.
I'm not upset about
so
that.
they alluded to there's going to be like a one-off season for him.
Interesting.
And that's coming out next, and then when that's over, then we're getting season 3 of Mandalorian.
Is it Jon Favreau again?
Yeah. Oh, he's running the show, man.
What the fuck does this guy do? Like, my God.
It's tremendous.
What's crazy is how he doesn't really seem to miss.
He cares.
He gets it.
You know,
people,
like...
Yeah, you know, I will say, like, very briefly, like, you know, when I was in Mandalorian season 1 mode, I was like, yes, like, this is probably the best Star Wars content that I've seen since the Disney deal. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you don't really... Audiences are so fickle, you know, and, like, everyone's so goddamn critical about the new trilogy, including myself. But, like, sometimes it's just so fun to have 30-minute rips with a bounty hunter through space, you know? It was like, I didn't even know I wanted this. Like, when this show got announced, I was like, I guess, like, bounty hunters are cool. And, like,
Mhm.
I've played some of those games, like, years ago.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is this going to be? You know what I mean? I just had these questions, like, I'm sure Star Wars fans were asking for it. It just felt like, of all the projects to green light, why this one? And then I watched the trailer, or I watched the
Well,
pilot. I don't know. I was like, yeah, okay, this is pretty fucking sick.
in like I didn't know this at the time because like we had watched, we had finished season 2 of Mandalorian, and then that's when we had our Star Wars moment. We're like, hey, we're going back and we're watching everything. They've been fucking like tugging at their bits with the Mandalorian shit for a long time, and I had no idea how obsessed the fan base and people running Disney were obsessed with the whole Mandalorian lore.
I knew a bit about that.
It's
like,
crazy.
it was it was an area of intense focus among the fan base, and obviously that came from somewhere.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Like you'd want, we were watching Clone Wars, and we're watching Rebels, and it's like fuck. It's like again with the Mandalorian, like the actual planet and their politics and their drama. Like a lot of it was good. Very little of it wasn't. But it's like fuck. Like are they gonna like why? Honestly, like there was whole seasons just pretty much dedicated to Mandalore. It's like fuck, man.
Cool.
Like yeah.
I've got a random assortment of anime news.
Let's do it.
We'll just hit you with quick hits right now.
Yeah.
Castlevania is getting a spin-off series.
Sure.
Based off of, well, I don't know if I want to. I don't know.
I caught it. I know. What
Oh, okay. Spoiler alert. It's based off of the the descendants of the main Castlevania show.
And the games are like that.
Yeah, and the games are like
sequel
that.
to sequel is like it's all you play from members
cool.
of that family.
See, I didn't know that. I saw a couple of headlines like, oh, they're significantly changing how the games handle it. I personally don't really care.
Sure.
I think, if it was a franchise I really loved, I might. But I think we said this before, like, video game animes do not have a great history of doing well. And if Castlevania's secret to success is they have to significantly alter the plot to make it work, then I wouldn't really give a fuck, because I had a pretty strong review of that whole series, and I still recommend people check it out. So they're going to do a spin-off. Who knows when? Anime takes time, but they are Netflix after all.
It's coming.
Speaking of Netflix anime, The Witcher is getting an anime.
Yeah.
I don't know anything other than that. Like, The Witcher's getting an anime. The Witcher is also a vast property with tons of opportunity for storytelling.
I don't love the show.
Yeah, I've had some recent conversations about the show, and I don't want to boil down its problems to this.
Sure.
Quick spoiler alert for The Witcher, but it seems common that most of the conversations that I've seen about The Witcher and the ones that I've had personally are actually strictly about the edit of that first season. Like, people don't say it in so many words, but it is clearly not obvious to a lot of the audience that The Witcher, the season 1 is not happening linearly because they're jumping through timelines, right? And it, like, you can solve that with a quick fucking subtitle, and they just didn't, and that I think was very jarring for people, and like seems like a bit of an amateur mistake. But I think that there are probably some lessons that they can learn. But otherwise, I thought it was fine. Like, it did not, snap my head back. But I thought it was good. I thought Henry Cavill was good. Some of the lore, some of the world building is good. These shows are difficult
for me. Like, and I hate that I'm like this, like, because I hate this type of person.
No, I love it. Hit me.
There's not like, because I read the books.
Oh, okay.
And
that's tough.
Like, again,
it's just tough. Anytime you have like a.
I hate the crusading that the internet does, like whether it's Game of Thrones or it's Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. Like every fucking genre has it. Every adaptation, exactly. But there was something about, like, I've read the Lord of the Rings books. I read the Harry Potter. Like, I've never had issues. Like, I really don't. Like, a lot of the time, it's like, as long as they get what they're adapting and they make the effort to be like in the same spirit, usually it's fine. But it's just something about Witcher, like, it does have the spirit to a certain degree, and they took some fucking liberties with the story, and it blows my mind. Like, not even again, I don't want people to think like I'm uppity because there was some like I don't know if it
You
was
could
gender
be.
bending. No, it wasn't the. Like, I know a lot of people were like all uptight of like I can't believe they casted this actress for this role. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Like I don't
Yeah.
care how anyone looks. It's just like kind of the story beats and like the format, and there was some that I liked, and then also visually I didn't like the way it looked. It
Yeah.
had some great episodes and it looked kind of cheap in my
Sure.
opinion. And so that's why I'm thankful for this anime to come out and hopefully just blow my
Yeah.
socks off.
I feel they have an opportunity and a kind of a make or break moment with season 2. It's funny because the show did so well, right? Like,
Yeah, did very well.
it's really interesting sometimes how, and I'm not being a dick, I'm just calling it like it is, and if you're listening to this podcast, I think you'll agree with me. It's just funny sometimes how the biggest, most successful things are not necessarily like even remotely close to the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Shadow and Bone was in top 10 worldwide for a straight week.
Season 2 confirmed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm not targeting them specifically, but like the reaction to The Witcher was explosive in terms of viewership, and then the
Yeah.
conversation about it was that a lot of people had a lot of the same problems with it.
Yeah.
It was fun, but yeah, people had some complaints, and it's just not what you expect of a show that quote like broke fucking viewership records at the time, right?
Sure.
But it felt to me like some of their inconsistencies kind of came down to potentially, the showrunner or showrunners maybe not having enough experience. I have no idea what they've worked on before this, so don't come for me. But just some of these mistakes felt kind of amateurish.
Sure.
But I mean, I cannot imagine how complex a shoot like that is, and I can't imagine all the stuff they learned, right? So I think that they know they're under the microscope. They got season 2. Let's see what they do with it. Like, I feel like it's make or break. If you come back, if you come again with more of the same, and you have like the same problems, and you can't figure that shit out, then I probably won't love it. Anyway, but also, yeah, I will watch the anime. Because I mean, look who you're talking to.
Yeah.
The other thing was this could very well turn out to be nothing at all. So like I'm hesitant to even bring it up. But I think we're approaching the 20th anniversary in a couple weeks for the Full Metal Alchemist manga release.
Ooh.
And the creator she said that she's going to share some news that is directly related to that property on the 20th anniversary. So
This is the manga writer?
yeah, the author of the manga, and she had a really heavy hand in the series as well. So
Whoa.
that could mean something. It could mean nothing. But a lot of speculation is like, oh, they're doing a spin-off or maybe a movie or maybe something. God forbid, another live action. Who knows? But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist news coming in July, and
Shit.
yeah. Last thing was not anime related, video game related, and my girlfriend told me because she's fucking obsessed. The Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and all that was released and announced for 2022.
Well, that's a good segue because I did want to talk about if there's one thing I did do this weekend. I watched a lot of E3.
Hit me up.
This is my Super Bowl, man. Like I look forward to this every year. I scheduled everything well in advance to make sure we got sit down and do time for this and that, and it's it was.
So what happened? Are there any big things?
There's a couple of big things. The Microsoft Bethesda press conference on Sunday was really well done. The good blend of really hitting home, exclusives, and the biggest thing was, because early, maybe late last year or early this year or late last year, Microsoft purchased Bethesda for a fucking obscene amount of money.
Do you know, and like even you don't have to look it up if you don't know offhand, but it feels like we're in the age of acquisitions these days.
Yeah.
Like, didn't Amazon just buy a movie
MGM.
studio? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just acquisitions are fucking all over the place. I wonder what they paid for Bethesda.
They paid $7.5 billion.
Interesting. It's so crazy to think of just about acquisitions and just like compare them to other acquisitions.
Yeah.
Just for like the sake of trying to wrap your head around how companies are valued. I won't get into that, but anyway, so they bought Bethesda.
they bought Bethesda, and that came along with lots of studios. So that's again, I'm a huge fan of Bethesda's games. So there's like Bethesda, Softworks themselves. It makes like the Fallout games and Elder Scrolls. That came with id Software, who makes like Doom, like the new Doom remakes, and historically has made Doom. Like they created it. Arcane Studios, they do like those Dishonored games and Prey, which if anyone has not played those and you're into like RPGs and stealth games and just genuine worlds dripping with lore, you have to check out Arcane Studios games.
Were any of those or all of those Microsoft exclusives already, or is the idea that they will be now?
Well, that's the thing. So going forward, the first unique property that Bethesda is making in 25 years is this game called Starfield, and it's supposed to be Fallout and Skyrim in space, more or less.
Okay.
And that was the big thing. Like the argument was like, they're like, no, there's no way that's going to be exclusive. Like, they're going to miss out on all this money, and it's like, but
Sony has been fucking killing them.
And that's the thing.
For
it's
years
like
now.
Sony has just been bending them over, and you know what? Like, again, it's just genuinely, like, I've been a lifelong Sony guy. They've just had great They've just had awesome exclusives.
Every game, I have an Xbox One sitting collecting dust, and every time a game comes out that I'm like, oh, maybe this will get me to play some games, it's a fucking Sony exclusive. It's like, you know what I mean? That's why I was telling you right before we started rolling. Like, I'm probably not. I don't know if I'll even bother, buying another console, because it's like I barely play as it is, and when I do, it's on the wrong platform, or when I want to play one. Anyway.
But yeah, so like they spent $7.5 billion, and they're gonna make their game exclusive to their system, and that's what they opened the show with, like, and they're like, and yes, like it's gonna be exclusive, like
Obviously.
Come on. And and like, so that was a highlight. Starfield was really great, or like they teased that with a cinematic, no gameplay or anything like that. But there was that, and then Arcane Studios was kind of pumping them up. They, at the end of the show, their next game is going to be Xbox exclusive as well. It's called Redfall. It seems to be. I got some like Left 4 Dead vibes, like, but you're fighting vampires. That seems like it's a 4-player co-op game. We don't know full details yet, but that looked pretty slick. So and there's other little stuff along the way. And then Nintendo's was today, and obviously Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel, was.
It's like the big one, yeah.
The big one. That's how they capped off the show, and they set up 2022 for that, obviously.
I wonder, I watched that trailer, the gameplay trailer. It really looks like almost more of an expansion pack with like some new mechanics.
Well, it's not exactly a they're reusing the map. Like,
it's not an engine rewrite. It's not, like you said, the map seems pretty similar.
Because that's what they said. Like I think if you watch it, they more or less said they're adding like new sky areas to it. So I think there's going to be big additions to the map, and I think they're going to remix the map. That's my guess. There's going to be some stuff like what was there. I'm picturing like Cataclysm from WoW.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not being nitpicky. I just, I was just saying, like, based off the trailer, it kind of just sort of looked like an extended play kind of thing. But
Nintendo loves that, man, though. They reuse everything, and then they charge you full price. Like, they never have sales. Well, it's ruthless.
They, I get it, right? They worked on fucking Breath of the Wild for so long and pushed those deadlines so far. Like, it's not shocking that they want to squeeze a little more blood out of that stone.
But yeah, so just a couple little cool things. But it was just, and there's a couple other events. Nothing very eventful. But like I said, Microsoft's the full 90-minute was just good, well produced, very well paced, good timing, clear and concise. Nintendo's is always like super snappy and in and out. They do their thing, fun little stuff. Do you remember? Did you ever have like a Game Boy Advance back in the day?
Yep. Yeah, maybe.
Do you remember a series called Advance Wars?
No.
It's just like a military kind of like little grid based, unit combat kind of thing, and that's coming back. They're rebuilding those, so that was just like a fun little nostalgic trip that's coming out this year. Nice. So I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, E3 was fun this year.
That's well, it Was that the incentive for you to decide to purchase a new next gen console? Current gen?
What, you mean the Xbox?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that was just because, like, my favorite games are, I'm an RPG guy. I'm not super big into shooters and all that, but like historically, like majority of the games that I play in a year, the AAA, or the games that aren't Sony exclusives tend to be like Bethesda games, like, because before it was Bethesda owned all these studios below them, kind of thing, or like there was like a parent company that owned all of them. And when Microsoft bought them, I was like, "Fuck, okay, well, I'm a bit of a predicament now because I play those just as much as I would play like a Sony exclusive." I usually play the Sony ones for story and kind of like the finite story, and then I would go to the Bethesda games or the Arcane games or machine games and like kind of get lost in those. So it was kind of, it was just one of those things. I just had a hunch. I was like, you don't pay $7.5 billion for something and not like lock something to your ecosystem, and yeah. Bought it Friday, and Sunday they had their thing, and I was like, well, point proven. So
yeah, good call. That makes sense.
Yeah, and but that's the thing too. Like, they have the Xbox has this whole Games Pass thing or Game Pass, and you get all these brand new titles, and as long as you're subscribing to the service, like if you pay for a month or two, you can just get this brand new game and you can play it. It's like Leanna was watching the conference with me. And Forza Horizon 5, which is like their flagship racing game at Microsoft.
Yeah, I don't get racing games, but that one does well, right? They all do well.
Yeah, and Leanna's like, "Oh, that looks awesome," and I'm like, "Oh, you can play that, and the day it comes out, and it'll be free." Like obviously, like you're paying them like a subscription or whatever, but like,
the Game
if you want to try it,
value
you can just get
crazy,
it.
Man.
It's insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
That's good. So yeah, E3 was banging. It sounds like.
Sure.
I think that's about it for me.
I think so too.
Okay. Thank you guys very much for listening. This has been the post show. Grant, this is our 10th episode.
Unreal.
Of the post show. And it's killing it. You guys are listening. So thank you.
If you guys still can, I apologize if your ears are bleeding. So.
It's fine. What are they going to do? Lend me your ears. Thank you for listening. If there's anything you want us to talk about on future episodes of the post show, let us know. Don't hesitate to follow, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever social media thing on whatever social media platform you feel comfortable with. And otherwise, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.